Hello everyone, this is the Algerian General and welcome into episode 3 of the modding bootcamp. So today we're going to be mingling and dealing with decisions. We're going to find out how they work, what kind of decisions you can have, how to make your own categories, and overall how you can code a decision and make it do whatever you want it to do. So you might be familiar with the concept of decisions. They are basically something in between events and focuses. They existed in EU4, they existed in all the past, well, not all of them, but in HOI III and the original Darkest Hour game. So they are a very useful tool. If done right, they can be just, or at least they can offer an amazing experience. So there is actually a decisions modding page here in the wiki. I'll be posting a link to this in the description down below. Now, this contains all information you might ever need. But first, we're going to get into how decisions work. Now, if you're familiar with it, decisions actually have tabs, or what we call decision categories. You might be wondering, where can I mess with those? Well, simply you go to common. Well, decisions are stored here in common decisions. Inside, of course, you will find your decisions and also a folder for the categories. Inside, of course, you can find all the categories you might ever want. Of course, you may add your own, like for instance this. Give it an icon. Visible, this is something that is optional. It's basically a condition that overrides the conditions in the decisions themselves. But as you can see, it's quite simple stuff, isn't it? So that's how you make a category, a new category. As for how you can make a decision, I actually have an example here. So first of all, you have to declare its category. So this is a category this decision is gonna be inside of. Of course, make sure to close that, as you could see. Close, open, close, open, close, open. Everything is fine here. So there's a bunch of settings you can have. First is the decision ID. Second is the visible. Visible is the set of conditions. If these conditions are met, this decision is going to be visible on the list. It's not necessarily takeable. That's what available actually sets, but visible is when this decision is visible. Available is when the decision can be taken. So in this case, develop infrastructure, it's visible if you have more manpower than 0, but you can only take it if you have more manpower than 500. Simple, isn't it? Then you have the complete effect. Complete effect is what the decision does once it's completed. You can have the decision take time. You can have the decision, I don't know. There's a lot of customization that you can do, but if you want it to, take time, it's a bit different, but I'm going to explain that in a second. Remove effect is technically what happens once the decision is removed. Days to remove is, well, after 10 days of taking this decision, the decision will be removed. Simple, isn't it? Cost is for the cost. Now, if you take here in the wiki, you can of course say the availability. As we have said, available is when you can take it. Visible is when you can see it. Cost is how much political power this decision is going to cost. This is of course, as we said, for the visibility. You can of course make the decision stay for a while, which is very useful. Days remove equals 5, days to enable. This is, I believe, all self-explanatory. For only once acts, just like in decisions, just like in events. Decision can only be taken once. This is very useful when you want to make something historical, such as maybe you want to make the remilitarization of the Rhineland as a decision. You can do it using this, which means you can only remilitarize it once, not twice, not 3 times, just once. Removal effects. As I've said, in this example here, develop infrastructure. It's only visible if you have more than 0. Only available if you have more than 500 men. It will cost you 50 political power. Once completed, it's going to add to infrastructure in a random owned state. We've already taken a look at scopes and how they work in the previous not the previous video, the one before it. So this is the complete effect. So once I click on the decision, I get this effect. Days to remove 10, which means that the decision is going to be in that place for 10 more days. Once the decision has been removed, it's going to give me 500 manpower. So again, very simple stuff. Targeted decisions. Now, this is basically if you want to have a decision for multiple people without you writing the code for all those people. Of course, using target trigger from, and of course you can add whatever triggers inside that you may want. You can of course make it as dynamic as you want. Say for instance, the war propaganda decision in vanilla basically sees which country has the highest amount of world tension. So if Japan has been doing a lot of stuff that has been messing up with the war tension, you can actually have a decision to have some sort of war propaganda against them. Very simple stuff. You can also have the second type of decisions, what we call missions. Now missions, just like decisions, are, well, literally decisions, right? But actually before we get to missions, just so you know, it's possible to have a modifier applied while the decision is taken. Just like this one here. Resource Spree is going to cost you 100 political power. It is going to last for 200 days. But here's a modifier it will give you in the meanwhile. As you can also see, fire only once, which means you can only take this thing here once. Okay, so you can see the mission here. Oh, it's not really there, but yeah. I'm just going to copy it just so you guys can see it. Okay, so Polish Conquest, this is, I believe, its own category. So let's not forget to close category we already have. Yeah, so Conquer Berlin is a decision, which is called the mission ID. Allowed tag Poland. So you are only able, or this mission is only allowed for Poland, or the countries will not even be able to see it. Available. These are basically the goals of the mission. For instance, if you want to have something for Plan Z, right? You can set the goal to have, I don't know, 10 battleships, 2 carriers, blah blah blah, 99 destroyers, that kind of stuff. Activation. When is the mission starts to count down? Here, of course, you have to be at war with Germany. Is good. This is mainly for the colors. You can, of course, if you set it to no, it means that the color is going to be in red, meaning that it's, well, not good, it's bad, right? This is all aesthetics, really. It's more for the colors. Day timeout, so the mission will fail in 100 days. Timeout effect. This is if you fail the mission. Complete effect is what happens when the mission succeeds. Now, again, as I have said before, the decision mechanism is really powerful. Super powerful, that is. To the point where I even thought at some point to remove focus trees and completely replace them with decisions. I kind of refrained from that idea, but I'm still going to be using decisions on a very high level. I'm going to use them extensively, especially for diplomacy, simply because of how dynamic these things can actually be. That was all for today's episode. I know it was quite simple, I know it was quite short, but, well, the subject itself isn't really that complex. I would love, of course, to thank you guys for being with us, and, of course, if you have any questions concerning today's episode, just leave them in the comment section down below, or send me a message on my Discord. A link to that will be in the description. I hope you guys will have an amazing day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.